Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Titus. Now in this video, I'm here to talk to you guys about how to manage your plant addiction. So in the previous week, I did talk about my plant addiction and how it started, but believe it or not, I have actually, I think recovered or am in the process of actually recovering from that. And here are some tips to help you guys get over your plant addiction as well. So chances are you stumbled upon this video because you yourself are addicted to plants or you have actually experienced that before. So let's get started so I can share with you guys what some of my tips are. So tip number one, set a budget, okay? If you have a budget to actually work on, then you know that once you've hit that limit that you will stop buying more plants for either that week, that month, or that whole year, okay? So if you have an issue with going to a plant nursery or a big box store that actually sells plants, set yourself a limit, okay? With me, I think there was a time where my limit was around $10 or $15 or $20. And that's if I go to a local nursery before. With rare plants, again, it may vary, okay? But if you have set a budget, you know that you're not gonna go over it because you can just go crazy with plants. And I've seen a lot of people go crazy with it because some plants, if you guys haven't seen before, can cost up to $100, $500, and $1,000 to $5,000 and $14,000. Just crazy expensive plants, okay? And if it's kind of like this addiction of, you know, other chemicals like dopamine inducing drugs. So if you're not very careful about it, it can actually go out of hand and it can affect your relationship. And no, it didn't affect my relationship with my wife. My wife had been really supportive with my plant addiction, and I'm saying I'm managing it quite well now. So that's tip number one, set a budget. Next tip is about knowing the plants that you actually want to own, okay? What do I mean by that? Okay, for example, there is this type of plant called Calatheus, okay, versus Peperomias. Now, Calatheus, if you guys haven't looked after one before, are the most difficult plant, in my opinion anyway, to look after here in Victoria, in Australia, with this type of atmosphere that we have and temperature fluctuations that we go through as well. I've killed tons and tons of Calatheas. I've had some zombie Calatheas which came back to life with the proper and appropriate condition, and maybe in future I can talk about that as well. But I've learned to hate Calatheas. Okay, so Calatheas are one of those really beautiful plants with different various foliage, which I can show you pictures of them right here. However, they're one of the most difficult plants to look after somehow because of just how complicated and dramatic that plant is. And I've killed multiple of that, and I just hate that plant with passion, okay? However, back in the days, I used to just get attracted to Calatheas, buy it, and then kill it. It's just a waste of money, to be honest with you. However, I found out about Peperomias, which you could see one back there. I really love Peperomias. They're like one of the easiest plants that you could ever look after if you know how to look after succulents. Okay, so Calatheas, they look nice, but you know, very hard to look after. Peperomias also look nice, but easier to look after in my opinion than Calatheas. So know the plant that you like, because sometimes you're gonna buy plants that you're going to regret in buying because they're generally hard to look after. Like for example, rare plants like, you know, Thigh Constellation. I've got one here, okay, it's quite healthy, it's quite it's flourishing. However, I've heard of stories of people actually buying elbows, Thigh Constellation, Mandulas, and all that stuff, and they buy it for such an expensive price and end up killing it. So know the plants that you want to buy so you don't regret it. So the next tip is having an accountability person to help you take control of your addiction. So for me, it's actually my wife. Every time I buy a plant, I always have my wife to go ahead and check up on me to see whether I made the right decision or not. In fact, going before that, before I buy a plant, I sometimes have to consult my wife. Sometimes, okay? There are times where I'm just not 100% sure, but my wife always puts me in perspective if I really need to buy a plant, because sometimes I buy a plant and then I end up regretting buying it. So nowadays, before I buy a plant, I talk to my wife and ask her, hey, talk to her about this. Is it really the right decision right now? And if it's not, then I don't buy it. But if I really, really want that plant, then I do end up getting it anyway. But having an accountability person to help you out with your plant addiction can really help you guys get on the way to getting over your plant addiction. Right, my next tip is going to be counterintuitive, and that is owning and buying more plants. Okay, so as crazy as it sounds, it's true. Okay, so I've experienced it myself, and I've also seen a lot of people had this as well. So they go through a phase of plant addiction. They buy so many plants in their home, and initially they are able to look after it. But then what happens is you get a bit of a headache trying to look after every single plant, because life, just passes by and you kind of stop caring for plants. And I'm not talking about not caring for them at all, but I'm talking about the actual physical care, which is you sometimes forget to water them, fertilize them, give them enough sunlight, put them in a right appropriate place as well. So during that time, if some of your plant starts dying off, you do get kind of disappointed. And this tip about getting more plants, it's so counterintuitive, but it's so true as well. If you have heaps and heaps and heaps of plants and you can no longer look after them, you're gonna start thinking to yourself, gee, is it worth it that I'm buying so many plants if I don't even have time to actually look after them? So give that a go. I mean, you probably can't do anything about it now if you're, still buying more and more plants, but I can assure you, once you've reached that point of no return and you've just owned so many plants already, you're gonna think to yourself, gee, I have to stop. Okay, which I have. I think the last time I bought a plant, I can't even remember when. It was several months ago, because I've pretty much come to a realization that I have enough plants now, and that if I am going to buy a plant, it's gonna have to be, there are certain criteria, such as they have to be really, really healthy, they have to be luscious, and they have to be cheap as well. So I'll tell you guys, I might make another video as to what my checklist are for buying plants nowadays in the future. So yeah, that's that. Okay, the next tip is limit on where the plants are located in your home. Okay, what do I mean by that? Very often and very soon, if you're addicted to plants, what you'll find is you will have a spot right next to a window or your bathtub that's actually filled with plants, and it's just plants everywhere. Okay, if you limit the area of where a plant can be located, like for example in a certain corner of your room, lounge, or house, then you're less likely to think about getting more plants because you don't have any more space. Okay, so there will come a point where you don't have any more space and you will think about what I said. And during that time, you will think, gee, I don't have anywhere outside or inside to actually store my plants, and therefore you will stop buying it. So yeah, limit the amount of plants you can store in a particular space. Now, the next tip is about propagating and grooming the plants that you currently have. Okay, so it's very easy to forget that just because there is a new beautiful plant out there that you don't already have plants. Okay, have a look at the current plants that you guys have right now. Have a look if they have like brown edges or brown leaves that have died off. Does it need pruning? Does it need more, love? And if it does, try to look after your current plant and grow more and more of that. One of the plants that I really, really love, and I have one back there, is the golden pothos. Okay, so it's such a really nice name because it probably is worth that name, golden pothos, because you can make money out of it, and it is one of the most easiest plant to grow and look after. If you guys haven't seen that video of my golden pothos care tips, I'll link that down below. But golden pothos are probably the really nicest vining plant and cheapest that you could get in the market because they're just everywhere, and it's just really nice to have them. I reckon if I didn't have all this plant and I just had golden pothos, I will be happy with that. So yeah, there's a tip for you. All right, the next tip is about if you really love looking at plants. Okay, instead of actually buying them, go and do some window shopping and then don't buy it. Okay, so sometimes it's just really nice to go to nurseries, big box stores that sells them, or even botanic gardens to actually just satisfy your craving for looking at plants. Because I know like yourself, if you're addicted to plants, that you would want to always see and surround yourself with plants just like this. So if you don't have enough space in your house, then perhaps going for a tour somewhere that actually has them will actually satisfy that hunger that you have. All right, the next tip is about leaving or putting in silent those online private plant markets. Okay, so if ever you've stumbled upon them just like I have, okay, I couldn't stop looking at plant shops online before, and it was so crazy. I think it would be like every, not hour, but if I'm not working, every hour I would be checking out that page. What's on sale, who's selling what, and what price. Okay, be wise with what you buy. But if you are buying online and that's an addiction that you guys have, I would just recommend leave that group right now, or silence it at least. The next thing is about turning your passion into something more productive. Okay, so if you are addicted to plants, for example, I guess part of how I channeled making sure that I'm productive with my addiction is that I turned my channel into a plant-based content channel, number one, and number two, I started selling them as well. Okay, and also using them as gifts as well. So if ever you're not sure as to where to go from here, do know that there are avenues of where you could go from here with your plant addiction. Okay, be productive with it so that it doesn't actually go to waste and you're just wasting money out of nothing. Okay, turn it into something actually productive. And then the last tip that I'm going to give you guys is just know that you can get through this. Okay, if you have burned your money and you have nothing left to spend, I'm so sorry to hear about that. Just have a little bit of discipline. But if you are trying to get over this addiction, just know that there is a light at the end of that tunnel, as they always say. So keep trying, keep persevering. You will eventually get out of this. For me, it lasted a good 18 months, I think, this addiction that I had this lasted. And now I'm enjoying what I have and actually trying to actually do better, because I've killed so many plants now. As embarrassed as I am to say, I have killed so much plants already, and I just want to look after the ones that I have and not take them for granted. If you guys have anything else to add, please jot them down in the comment section down below. I would love to actually hear other people's ideas as to how to get over plant addiction. So if you guys have anything to add, please let me know. If you guys found this video useful, then please go ahead and click that like button. If you do want to see me make more videos like this and you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Otherwise, I will see you guys on the next video. Until then, goodbye and God bless.